Good morning. It's
Morning.
great to have you here, Mark. You're about to be graduated student soon from the Scottish Baptist College. You've done a little bit of thinking into youth work, and you currently are a youth worker. So can you tell us just a little bit about what you've been learning and how that's interacted with what you're doing?
Yeah. So as you say, I'm a youth worker just now. I started doing youth work like halfway through my studies. So that was a challenge, but actually it was really cool because it meant the things that I was learning, I was able to put into practice as I'm working, and it also really actually helped a lot. I think one of the coolest things I took away from things like work-based learning, which you go to placement stuff, was the whole reflecting on your work. And so I've found that as I've been doing youth work with the church, I've been wanting to more reflect on what I'm doing. Um, and so yeah, it's been really cool just learning about things, even to things I'll be learning in one class. I'm like, oh, that would be a really good youth talk. So I'll go and I'll do like a youth talk based on that thing. Um, and so there's been cool things like that as well. But yeah, it's been really good. I've enjoyed it. I've loved it, and I can't wait to also graduate. So,
Excellent. We're looking forward to that as well.
yeah,
So you did your dissertation about youth work and researching a little bit about um, different practices of youth work. Can you kind of tease out a little bit about what you learned through doing your dissertation research?
yeah. So yeah, as you say, my dissertation, it was on kind of faith formation in young people, and what I did was I kind of took it. I did like kind of secondary research that was all kind of looking at the research that's been done, and then took it to local context, which was my own church that I work with, to kind of see like, is what is being said in the secondary research, does that track in a local context in Scotland, in Paisley, like very narrowed down, in Connect Church. So yeah, I really valued doing that because what it also did was it meant that not only was I just finding it more and learning more about youth work in general, but also was able to put that into practice within my own youth context, and also hear what my own young people and leaders and parents, because I kind of listened to the voices in my church of these three different groups: parents, leaders, and young people, and heard their opinions on just various things, like kind of what, for example, one thing was, what's your reaction when you hear the phrase "youth are the future of the church"? Now, before I started this dissertation, I'd be like, yeah, 100%, like youth are the future of the church. That's great, and they're the church of today. But actually, one of the things that came out of it was the young people specifically were like, it's a lot of pressure, it's a burden to be told you're the future of the church. Like, wow, okay. Um, and so part of my research then went, okay, well, how do we prepare and equip young people to, yes, be the future of the church in a sense, but also not have this burden placed on them. And I think part of the conclusion came across from it being that actually the whole church, everyone in the church is the future of the church. Everyone works together. It's cross generational. Everyone does it, and yeah. So that was part of the research, but yeah, kind of looked at things like what forms faith in young people, various activities, various things, and yeah, it was really insightful for me just in kind of how I take that and go and bring it to my own youth.
So tell us a little bit more about how that learning, how your change in perspective from youth as the future of the church, how's that actually been borne out in practice? Have you actually changed how you're doing things in the youth group? Have you changed not just your thinking, but also your practice?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that coming out of the kind of hearing various voices before I did this dissertation, I would, yes, I would listen to parents and I would listen to leaders, but I probably, like, the biggest voice I would hear was the young people and stuff, and that's important. But I've found so much value in even doing like the focus groups with those groups, hearing all the voices and being like, okay, so there's something for everyone to say, and it's important to hear everyone's voice and to bring that into conversation. And so one thing I've been trying to do is actually like hear more from my leaders, like, well, what do you think is going well in the youth group? How can we do things differently? And same with parents, like hearing what they think, because everyone will have a thought, and you're not going to please everybody. But it's good to even just give that opportunity for people to talk about it. And yeah, in terms of the youth, the future of the church kind of thing, I think when it comes to engaging young people in the church, it's trying, like, something I've been trying to do is not make it that it's just like, okay, young people, it's all on you, like, you're gonna do this and you need to be doing this, and but instead just making the church a place where they feel like they belong, and not so that they just are there. Like, it's not like we're doing this so that you're here and you're a number in the church, you're a bum on a seat. Like, it's doing it because we want them in their faith journey to be able to grow, and to feel like they belong in a place, rather than just feeling like, oh, I'm just a number, like I'm not actually seen, I'm not actually cared about. Something that came out was the whole thing of place sharing in my dissertation, and kind of as a youth pastor or even a youth leader, a parent as well, like, place sharing with young people. So when they're struggling, like, don't just kind of like be like, oh, you'll be fine, I'm praying for you, and then just don't engage with them about it, but actually like talk to them about it, pray for them in the moment, and continue to walk with them through that struggle and through that, and caring for them, and just letting them know that you actually value them as a person and you care for them, and you're not just, you know, if they're not, in a sense, making a faith decision, you're then not going like, oh no, this is terrible, they're not making a faith decision, we'll just give up on them, like, why would we do that? Instead, it's like, no, we're going to invest into this young person, we're going to care for this young person, even if, like, they're not making any statements of faith or whatever it might be, like, just being there for them. Because you never know, like, that's the part of it that came out as well in my dissertation. There is the role of the Holy Spirit as well, and how the Spirit convicts and draws people close, and so there's only so much we can do. In fact, there's nothing we can do on our own, but trusting and praying that God is at work in the background, like back in the foreground, and that we're in the background. So yeah, I think that's some of the stuff I'm trying to implement, and just, yeah, not making it that there's pressure on young people to be anything. But it's just like, we just want you here because we love you and care for you. We want you to grow in your faith.
Yeah. Creating that kind of space of belonging,
yeah,
is really important, I think, for young people, and I think that's what came out so strongly in your dissertation as well. So it's good to hear that that's being implemented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's great. It's good to hear about your research. I appreciate you sharing with us, and I wish you all the best in your future work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great supervisor as well. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.